into that keyboard, you could.
Oh, God.
It's always got to be something dirty.
Welcome to Hey, did you ever see that movie? I'm your host, Des, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
You're a daisy if you do.
Okay, and joining us again, the podcast with 1,000 potions, Mikki.
You gonna do something or just stand there and bleed?
Oh, I'm going to do a podcast. And joining the show for the very first time, the podcast with more patience than God, Tony 2.0, which rumor has it is, in fact, Mikki's husband. Is that true, Tony?
This is the truth.
Okay.
Can you tell how
Welcome to the
thrilled he
show.
sounds?
Okay. This week, we will be discussing the Western movie Tombstone, written by Kevin Jarre and directed by George P. Costamatos and Kevin Jarre, starring Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Jason Priestley, Billy Bob Thornton. Come on, throw some more names at me, you guys.
Michael Rooker, Stephen Lang, Sam Elliott,
Billy Zane.
Billy Zane. There you go.
Thomas Hayden, a young Thomas Hayden Church, which is amazing.
Who's the guy that creeps me out?
Oh, Powers Booth.
Yes.
Powers Booth.
Curly Bill.
And every other actor working in Hollywood at the time. As always, this movie will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. And now, it's time for another installment of Disaster Piece Theater. So sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Disaster Piece Theater, where me and my two co-hosts will act out one scene from the movie that we are reviewing for you this evening. So please, sit back, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the show.
Quiet on the set!
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Go ahead, skin that smoke wagon, and see what happens. I'm getting tired of you guys, boy. Now jerk that pistol and go to work.
Cut! Cut! Cut!
That was something.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm
Holy
like Billy
shit.
Zane up there on stage in my tights doing Hamlet. Okay, now it is
sweating.
time for Dez's 4 and 1 fun fake fact, where it will be up to my 3 co-hosts to decide which fact is, in fact, total bullshit. Fact number 1. There were no fake mustaches or soul patches in the movie. Every actor was, in fact, required to grow the needed facial hair to portray the character they were playing. Number 2. Willem Dafoe was originally the choice to play Doc Holliday. Number 3. In reality, Johnny Ringo did not die at the hands of Doc Holliday. Number 4. Mel Gibson was writer Kevin Jarre's first choice for Wyatt Earp, but director George P. Costamatos wanted and cast Kurt Russell in the part. And number 5. The famous gunfight. During the famous gunfight, members of the two opposing parties were initially only about 6 feet apart, and 30 shots were fired in 30 seconds. Okay, so, Mikki, of those 5 facts, which one do you think is bullshit?
I think the Willem Dafoe one is bullshit.
Okay, and Dylan, which one do you think is bullshit?
I'm gonna say the no fake mustaches is bullshit.
And Tony, I'm looking to you to get this right. Which one do you think is, in fact, total bullshit?
I'm going to give number 3 a shot. And I apologize, I can't repeat it for you, but the third.
In reality, Johnny Ringo did not die at the hands of Doc Holliday. Okay, you are all incorrect. The correct answer is, or the incorrect answer is, Mel Gibson was never a option for wider. So
Damn it, I almost said that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Almost is not close
Not
enough.
good enough.
And this is
With
not
a budget.
horseshoes or hand grenades.
Oh, horseshoes and hand grenades. Good one. With a budget of $25 million and a box office gross of $56.5 million, this movie was considered a moderate success. Okay, so quickly, you guys, let's just get some opening thoughts. So, Tony, you have seen this movie, correct?
I have. Yes.
Numerous times. Like, this is a quotable situation for you. And Mikki, had you seen this movie before preparing for the podcast?
I had seen it several times, not in its entirety, but only because my husband's always watching it. So I would come in here or there and sit down for an hour or so. But I love Billy Zane in it, though. I mean, I don't think I've ever actually seen it in one sitting all the way through.
Dylan, had you ever seen the movie?
Yes, numerous times.
Okay. And I had seen the movie maybe twice, like 20 years ago. So this was almost like going in fresh for me. Like, I remember the highlights, like Doc spinning his cup, but this was basically a fresh watch for me. Dylan, give us a synopsis.
Gladly. All right. So Wyatt Earp and his brothers, Morgan and Virgil, have left their gunslinger ways behind them to settle down and start a business in the town of Tombstone, Arizona. While they're not looking to find trouble, trouble finds them anyways when they become targets of the ruthless cowboy gang. Now, together with Wyatt's best friend Doc Holliday, the brothers pick up their guns once more to restore order to a lawless land.
Lawless.
It's lawless,
right.
man.
Well, I think we're
Like
ready. So
Lucy.
just bring us into the scene and let's get this thing going.
Curly Bill Brocious, played by Powers Booth, arrives with his band of red sash-wearing cowboys at a Mexican wedding. He tosses 2 red sashes on the ground and announces that the groom of the wedding party and the men in attendance, all wearing gray military-style jackets, so clearly the local law, has killed 2 cowboys. The cowboys open fire and kill all the men, drag the bride away, and then kill the local pastor. Curly Bill warns the remaining locals to not disrespect the cowboys, that they're in charge around there. So, Tony, since this is your first time with us, I'm going to let you go first. It's a shocking opening, the wholesale slaughter of mostly innocent people, a few lawmen, but then sitting down to eat the feast that was laid out for the wedding party. It's pretty brutal.
Absolutely. It's to the spoils, to the victors go the spoils. These guys they're trying to set the stage that they are ruthless and that they're not too, turned off by the sight of death. They're going to sit down. The thing I like the most is that Ringo kind of shows you right off the bat that he is obviously a little bit more educated and a little bit more cutting than the rest of the gang. He pops the priest right in the head and then changes the kind of bad Spanish of one of the members of the Cowboys and tells him that that's actually a biblical quote, which is out of Revelations, and it's basically the pale rider on the horse that is coming, and his name is Death. So a little foreshadowing, and Cosmatos does a nice job of setting the stage to let you know who you're dealing with here.
I totally agree with you. And you know what I love about the Cowboys is they are definitely antagonists. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But a lot of times when the Cowboys are killing in this movie, I noticed that they were killing out of revenge. Like, even in that scene, they say, you killed 2 cowboys. They're saying, you drew blood first. And they're rowdy, but I mean, this is the Old West. And these guys, throughout the entire movie, every time they kill, it seems they are killing in revenge for someone killing one of their own. So they're rowdy boys, but they don't really feel like murderers. I also love what you said about Johnny Ringo. Totally a step above everybody else except for Doc Holliday, which is his perfect foil in this. He's smart, he's educated, he's the fastest gun in the West, except for Doc Holliday, which we'll find out. So yeah, great character building. And I love this little black and white movie we get in the beginning. And I was looking, I'm like, are these the actual actors in this little black and white movie? Or is this like, like old footage? But no,
There's
it was
a little
the
cut
actors.
in. I think it's both.
No, it's just they shot the film and it was just made to look like an old.
I love
film.
the Robert
Mitchum
Mitchum editorialization of the opening scene, kind of setting the stage, and I had to make her stop it and say, "Mikki, do you know who this is?" And she got it. She did good. So
Yeah.
he's great because he did a
And you know
boatload of
what?
westerns.
What I really love too, the way that little box black and white movie makes the opening shot in color feel so
Mhm.
big and just rich and lush. So yeah, really nice. Really nice. Mickey?
I'm upset you didn't get my First Blood reference. You said he drew First Blood and blah blah blah, and I said they drew First Blood.
You know,
They
you
did
do
draw
such a
First
better
Blood,
Stallone
yeah.
impression than that, Mick. You gotta give him it. Come on.
I know.
They drew First Blood there.
I know.
So Mickey, what you think of these opening scenes?
For me, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm not a huge Western fan. I like Dusk Till Dawn type of Westerns. Do you know
Not a
what I
Western.
mean?
That's
Like,
not a
not a Western.
Western. That's
With a
not
Just
little
a
because it's
horror
filmed in
thrown in.
Arizona doesn't make it a Western, honey.
I'm going to say I thought it was typical Western. I thought it set the tone, and it also showed you what I don't want to say badass because I don't think he's a badass. I think he's an asshole. Johnny Ringo is. You know what I mean? I think they needed
what he's capable of.
Yeah. I think they needed that to show you. So, I mean, do I think it was an amazing opening scene? No, but do I think it was needed? Yes.
Yeah, this is
Absolutely.
a mob movie. I mean, Tony, would you agree this is a mob movie set in the Old West?
Absolutely. You know, it's you could change the names and have Elliot Ness and his Untouchables, because at one point they actually say, "Hey, this is Wyatt Earp," and they gave him the Immortals. So it's very similar.
Yeah.
It's one
Yes.
crusading guy with a gang of fellas who's trying to take out the bad guys who are, insert time period here.
Well, this is like, could be like Casino too. You get these guys, they roll into town, they're taking over gambling, prostitution, the casino, everything. So I thought it was very clever in that. And also, trying to tie it loosely, and I mean it is loosely to history. This movie is not Wyatt Earp,
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
not
you have to
trying to be.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you have to understand that, like, I did a little research, and I'm sure Tony knows more about it, but I did a little research into like what Wyatt Earp was really all about, and it was like, yeah, he was a lawman, but he wasn't running faro tables, he was running brothels, and he actually got in trouble for pimping, essentially.
When the Earps got to Tombstone, it wasn't really a bunch of wooden buildings and hotels and all that. It was more adobes and tents and stuff. It wasn't built up the way it was depicted in the movie. And I was fine with it. Like I said, I wasn't holding this movie to the fire. I didn't want a history movie like Wyatt Earp. And it was funny because Costner actually was originally involved in this movie and didn't like the direction it was going in. So he went and decided he was going to make Wyatt Earp. And he went through Hollywood to all the different studios and tried to get this movie stopped. He didn't want this released. And,
they came out within a few 6 months of each other. You know what I mean? Because he knew that this movie was going on while they were filming Wyatt Earp.
One of the two movies, I thought it was, yes. I'm pretty sure the Wyatt Earp movie bought up all of the costumes in Hollywood, and Tombstone had to get all of their Western garb from overseas. So,
wow.
Yeah, but you know how my facts are, Mickey. That might be loose.
So they had to go to Italy and use the spaghetti Western costumes, right?
No, seriously though, I'm pretty sure that's actually what happened though. Actually,
pretty sure.
So, pretty sure,
right.
not 100%.
He hasn't fact checked himself on that, but we'll go with it. All right. So Wyatt Earp, played by Kurt Russell, and his brothers Virgil, played by Sam Elliott, and Morgan, played by Bill Paxton, arrive in Tombstone, Arizona. The men hope to settle down with their wives and start a new life, this time without having to keep the law. Wyatt's fame precedes him, and several people attempt to persuade him into becoming the local law, but he refuses and claims he's done with his service and he is now retired. The brothers are looking for ways to make money, and Wyatt bitches down a bully, Johnny Tyler, played by a much younger and chubbier Billy Bob Thornton, in the Oriental, and takes over the faro game for 25% of the take. When he steps back out into the street, the bully attempts to take out Wyatt, but is stopped by longtime friend of the Earps, Doc Holliday, played by Val Kilmer. As they talk, it's clear that Doc is dying from tuberculosis. Down the street, a traveling troupe of actors arrive, including Josephine Marcus, played by Dana Delaney, who immediately catches Wyatt's eye despite being married. So, Mickey, when the four men are talking and ignoring Johnny Tyler, to me, it's a perfect depiction of how little they thought, about pretty much anybody that wasn't one of them. Like, they just basically ignored him.
Yes, I agree. And honestly, just to back up for a little bit, and I'm sure you did the same thing when the guy was like whipping the horse. Were you pissed? As pissed as I
So
was?
good. So good when Wyatt
Yes.
whips him, though, in
Yeah,
the
it
face.
was fantastic.
Don't it?
Take that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, and Tony goes, wait.
Hurts, doesn't it?
So good.
And I have to tell you that I found, and my husband can actually attest to this too, I found his wife really annoying.
Yeah. I think they did that on purpose, though.
But to me, and I don't know if it's just me, I thought that Dana Delaney's character was the most annoying character in the movie.
I can see why you'd say that.
I didn't get it. Like I didn't understand. Like, to me, Doc's girl, she was amazing. She was like gorgeous, tough, just, super cool. But I love Billy Zane too. So I was happy that he had, I wish his role was a little bigger, but I didn't like Dana Delaney's character, but I loved the scene with Billy Bob. And, like Tony said, that was probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
So before that happens, we meet Doc with Frank Stallone. And they're playing cards. And
couldn't let Frank Stallone go.
No. So no, but these are very important scenes though, because we're learning quickly that Doc Holliday's reputation precedes him everywhere he goes, and he gets cut breaks that most men would never get cut. And we also are going to learn that Doc Holliday, on top of being super, super intellectual for the time, does not just hide behind his pistols and his reputation being the fastest gun in the West, because Frank Stallone, I'm just going to call him Frank for this, he says, yeah, you're hiding behind those guns. And, Doc puts the guns on the table with the barrels facing himself and then stabs this dude in the side with a knife and proves that he's a badass and he doesn't need his guns to get the job done. And I love his girlfriend, and,
love her.
And that's great. And then, we get the Billy Bob Thornton scene where, Wyatt's going to smack him around and they're going to be confronted by Billy Bob. And all Billy Bob has to do is see Doc Holliday. That's it. And he's now done with any revenge or
because Doc
anything.
says, hey, Wyatt. And he goes, Wyatt Earp? Like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So between Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out. So these are great character building scenes.
I think that this was honestly one of Val Kilmer's best roles.
And
his best
100%
role.
is his best role, if you ask
me.
me.
Is his best role.
Even though it was small, like he owned it.
I know that Kurt Russell is technically the star of this movie, but I feel like Val Kilmer is actually the star of this movie.
I agree.
It is the Wyatt Earp story, but Val Kilmer acts the pants off this thing. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. Kurt Russell does too, because, think about Kurt Russell. We're talking, Big Trouble in Little China. We're talking
The Thing.
Overboard with Goldie Hawn. And he comes out and he does this? Are you freaking
Both of
kidding
these
me?
guys have such great range, because you'll see Val Kilmer do Iceman and you'll believe it. Then you'll watch him do Doc Holliday, totally other end of the spectrum, and he owns them both. And the same thing with Kurt Russell. He started doing Disney movies in the late 60s, and he's come so far to see him. He does, if you ever saw a movie called Midnight Blue about LAPD riots, he does that role to the hilt too. So it's just, they're so good because they're guys that own the craft, and they kill it.
I loved Val Kilmer in Heat too.
Yeah,
I thought that
absolutely.
he was amazing in that as well.
I haven't seen that in a million years.
Agreed.
It was a funny story because it's like so long, right? What is it? A 3-hour long movie?
That.
Yeah.
And I went with a friend and we were sitting watching it in the theater, and I was like, it was like an hour and a half in. I was like, I am going to pee my pants. I need to get up and leave. So it was a packed theater. I snuck out and I literally watched the rest of the movie standing at the back of the theater because I couldn't find my seat again. So I stood at the back of the theater for like a half an hour, 45 minutes watching the movie. But it was like, I couldn't wait. I was like, I'm going to pee my pants.
That was such
Tony,
a great
what did you
movie.
think of the opening scenes of Doc, the character building they were giving us in
I
these
love
scenes?
it. You want to go with the idea that he's the pendulum between Southern gentleman and like Rattlesnake. I mean, this guy, he's
Totally.
super quick, yet he's also the intellect. He goes, I can't remember. Ed Bailey, I think, is the character's name that Frank Stallone plays. He goes, "Why, Ed? Why are you so cross?" Like he's confused. And he slows him into this
Yeah.
Southern hillbilly bullshit about, and Ed knows this guy's dangerous, but he's going to give him the tough guy psych out and say, "Oh, you're nothing without those pistols." So, of course, what does Doc do? He sucks him right in and goes, "Oh, let's put those down. Now we can be friends again. Because I couldn't bear it if you were not my friend." Kind of like, go fuck yourself. And this guy just gets
So
sucked
good.
right in, and then boop, he gets stabbed, and it's game over. You know what I mean? In one swift motion.
It's so
Because
good.
as soon as he sets the guns down, there's the split second of, okay, everything's great. Now he's over the table trying to get Doc, and he stabs to death, and that's it.
So, Tony, have you ever seen The Quick
Yes.
and the Dead? Good movie, right?
I
You like that
agree.
one?
I'm not a huge Sharon Stone fan, but I think the supporting cast is awesome. Hackman is perfect, and a lot of even DiCaprio's stuff was well played. That as the kid, he's great, and some of the other cast, Russell Crowe, and some of the bit part actors are super.
I agree with you. I think if you took Sharon Stone out of that movie and revolved the story around Russell Crowe's character and DiCaprio's relationship with Hackman, I think that movie's a stronger movie. But I loved Hackman so much, and I love the concept of this little town. So I thought that was interesting. Okay, let's roll.
Yeah, it's interesting too because you just brought that up. It's like I think what was that? It was that mid-90s as well. We went through like a little pocket where Western movies was like the thing. Like everyone was doing a Western movie.
I think that was Clint Eastwood
because I'm
when
thinking
he
myself
started to revive Westerns, because that was really where he made his name. Rawhide in the 60s.
Right.
He did a bunch of films with the spaghetti Westerns and Sergio Leone, and then he came back when he was like 65 and did like 3 Westerns in a row, and I think he wrote and directed a lot of them. So it was like, he set the tone, and everybody else had to, get to the bar. And Kasdan does a great job in Wyatt Earp, but like you said, Des, it's so much more historically based, because they want to show you how Wyatt Earp became Wyatt Earp. When he's a young kid and he marries this girl, she gets scarlet fever and dies, and he just freaks out and goes off the deep end, and then he's got to get himself back together. And so this movie is a little bit more.
And that's what Costner wanted to make,
right?
And that's what Costner wanted to make with Tombstone.
And he did.
They were like, "What's not happening?" He's like, "I want a movie about me, Wyatt Earp." So, how about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
Have you seen that? Yeah, I enjoyed that one very much, and I liked the way they wove the Western story into the 60s reimagination of Hollywood at that time with the Sharon Tate
all the
killings
weirdness
and stuff. I
yeah,
thought
in
that was all
Hollywood
very
Hills.
cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot.
That evening, the Earps attend the Birdcage Theater with their wives. Also in attendance are a good deal of cowboys. Afterward, the Oriental is full of people drinking, and the actors' troupe arrives to applause. Wyatt does his best to avoid too much contact with Josephine and retreats to the faro table, where he and Doc are approached by Curly Bill and Johnny Ringo, played by Michael Biehn. Ringo and Doc get into a verbal sparring match in Latin, and Ringo pulls his gun on Doc before showing off doing some tricks. Doc's only response is to use his little metal cup that he's drinking out of to mimic Ringo's showmanship. The crowd laughs, and Curly Bill and Ringo leave Doc and the Earps alone, for now. So, Des, I don't know if the Latin-speaking word battle and metal cup showdown is historically accurate, but I don't care, because it was awesome. It proves the point. Doc sees a lot of himself in Ringo, a younger, healthier man that he can't allow to show him up, but he's also not foolish enough to turn it into a drag-out fight with him right there in the middle of the saloon,
Yeah, so the director is doing such a great job here. This movie's a slow burn, but it's not a slow burn that has me checking the timer on the TV. It's paced very well for having like 500 characters and 400 storylines and all of this exposition. It never dragged for me. So you get this theater scene where we've got this like mix of like, town selectmen. You've got these really sophisticated people from San Francisco who are the theater group. You've got these cowboys who are shooting, and then you've got the Earps and Doc Holliday watching this whole thing from the bleachers. And it's like a powder keg, but it doesn't go off, but it's building this tension. And I really love the way that worked. And then we get the showdown between Ringo and Doc. It's a duel of intellect. And Ringo is Doc's not as equal, but as close as you're going to get in the Old West. I mean, it's really good. And, I think that the problem with Ringo is he's one of like a young fighter that maybe hasn't fought anybody. Like he's knocked everybody out he's faced, but have you ever faced anybody like in the top 5? Where Doc has faced the best. So yeah, I really liked it. And I feel like Ringo backed down every chance he got when he was faced with Doc Holliday.
I agree. And again, I'm just so, I love Val Kilmer in this so much. Like, honestly, this could have been in 2 hours and 7 minutes of Val Kilmer playing Doc Holliday. And I probably would have liked it more than than I did. But
Yeah.
he's fantastic. The scene, and honestly, any scene where he's up against somebody that's kind of like on the opposite side, he's so slick because he never loses his cool. He's just he's so even keeled, like me.
Yes, of course,
right,
dear. You are.
Yeah.
How
I'm
would
sure.
Doc phrase it? You're an ice cube, pumpkin. You're wonderful. You're cool as a cucumber.
And also, as Doc would then say, then again, you might be the Antichrist.
I feel like we missed an opportunity to get Tony in on Disaster Piece Theater. I'm feeling like there was a Doc Holliday for the ages there.
Things at home are not ideal for Wyatt. Maddie, his wife, played by Dana Wheeler Nicholson, is addicted to laudanum. Though it was a common drug at the time, it's a deadly mixture of morphine and opium. He has an accidental meeting with Josephine out in the country, and they ride their horses to a nice spot before stopping to take a rest, where he and Josephine flirt with one another. In contrast, when he goes home and Maddie is high, Wyatt starts to question what he's really doing and what he wants. So, Tony, I have a little bit of compassion for Maddie here, and the reason, and yes, she's super annoying, don't get me wrong, but this is a time before drug addiction was understood, and opium and cocaine were not only readily available, but they were in everyday products. Like, you bought Coca-Cola and it had cocaine in it. It's like everybody was a drug addict
the
back
deal
then.
too. Wyatt is one of those kind of guys. He's a driven individual. He's married to his job and to his quote unquote cause about, forwarding the Earp family kind of legacy or whatever you want to call it. I think his first marriage to Urilla, who died within a year of their marriage, was really gut wrenching and tore him up. So his next marriage is like convenience. This woman seems to like me. Great. We'll get married and everything will be super duper. And it's like, dude, marriage is tough. You have to work at it. It's not easy. Ask my wife. She knows. Yeah. To the point that I think Wyatt likes the concept, but does not feel what Maddie felt or does not have the same feelings that she loses herself in laudanum instead of trying to confront Wyatt as to why he's not as tender with her or kind to her or whatever. He kind of vacillates where he's her buddy. He's not her husband.
Agreed.
Totally agree. I feel bad for her too.
I didn't think this was a chance meeting, this date between him and the actress. I mean, and this scene is like, so there's a couple of scenes that are very Walt Disney. We're going to get the Walt Disney music. We get the two horses falling in love and nestling in a heart shape and the red flowers. And I mean, it's fucking, I got a cavity watching this scene, but it was fine. It did show to me a little bit that Wyatt Earp is a little bit simple. Like, this woman basically just like Jedi mind tricked him. She's like, you're a dumb hick. This town is stupid and dirty. And there's a great big world out there that you could be seeing. He's like, God damn, you're right. There is a great big world out there I could see. Fuck. He goes home. He's like, baby, there's a great big world out there we could see. We should. And he like basically just regurgitates everything this woman just said to him. Where Doc Holliday would have like been like, all right, whatever, lady. So again, a lot of really good character building in this movie. I liked it a lot.
Can I just say, too, that I love Bill Paxton in this movie because his character
I hate Bill Paxton in this movie.
Why? His character is so, like, he's like a little kid.
That's the problem. Sam Elliott is the level-headed one who has a conscience. Wyatt Earp is just Wyatt Earp, and Bill Paxton's character is like a 6-year-old who's 6 feet tall.
Bill Paxton from Twister.
Why don't you put her in charge?
From fucking, from Weird Science. Yeah.
Game over, man. Game over.
That's it, right?
He didn't work
Yeah.
for me, man. He was the one miscast
Really?
character. I wanted Patrick Swayze, and I'm going to tip my hat to Disasterpiece Theater. I wanted Patrick Swayze in that part. He would have brought so much more legitimate cowboy feel, you know?
I don't think Patrick Swayze was young enough because he is the younger brother. And I know that that's why they picked him, because Bill Paxton is smaller and younger than Verge and Wyatt. So he was the baby brother. He was the looker. He was,
Bill Paxton is a goon.
Wow. I thought for sure you were going to cast. I thought for sure you. Yeah, I thought for sure you were going to cast John Travolta because he did Urban Cowboy. Doesn't that qualify?
Listen,
course
I'd be
you
fine
would.
with John Travolta in this part.
Could you see it? Could you see him?
Or Frank Stallone
Doc,
would have been great.
I don't know why there's a problem here. What's the trouble? Jesus, these guys are everywhere. These cowboys,
Hey,
they're killing me.
this guy's a gunslinger. Everyone knows you can't trust a gunslinger.
everywhere.
Jesus. Jackie. Okay.
So Curly Bill gets his dumbass all high on opium and he starts shooting up the streets of Tombstone. The marshal, played by Harry Carey Jr., goes out to put a stop to his...
Tombtown? Tombtown?
No,
she
What's
said
Tombtown?
Did I say Tombtown?
She said Tombtown. Where's Tombtown?
No, I didn't. No,
you did. Yes,
I
you
did not. I did
I
not.
got Tombtown.
You're gonna get it. The marshal, played by Harry Carey Jr., goes out to put a stop to his drug-induced rampage. The marshal tells him to hand over his guns, and Curly goes to hand them over, but one of the guns fires and hits the lawman in the chest. Curly's reaction makes it appear that this was an accident, but Wyatt arrives on scene and knocks Curly out. The townspeople want to string Curly up for killing the marshal, and the cowboys now coming out on the street want Wyatt to turn him loose. Ike Clanton moves to force the issue, and Wyatt puts a gun to his forehead. Ike tells everyone to back off. So Mikki, this scene when Thomas Hayden Church playing Billy Clinton says to Doc, "You're drunk, you're probably seeing two of me," and Doc replies, "I got two guns, one for each of you." Iconic.
Yeah.
Just so perfectly
So
iconic.
good.
But
Yes.
in the meantime, I got a problem with Behan just sitting there watching this happen. Like, what a tool. He literally sat there and watched it happen. And then when they said there was no witnesses to it, Behan and Josephine watched it. So it's like, yes, there was witnesses, but okay.
Yeah, he's a tool. He was there. He's a showman. He's not a cop. He's a joke.
Right
really.
on, kid.
He's the fucking mayor.
Essentially, he's
the
a
mayor.
politician. He's not a policeman. You're absolutely right. And the sad part is he tells
Yeah.
Fred when Wyatt says, "Why don't you let it go?" And he goes, "No, somebody's got to do something." And then he goes, "You take care of it, Behan." And he goes, "Well, it's not a county matter. It's a town matter." Kind of like, I don't do that heavy
Town matter.
lifting. I'm going to send that poor old man out there to get shot. Not only that, but
Yeah. And he only wants to only wants to
Exactly.
take care of things when it suits him. And when it doesn't
Right.
suit him, he doesn't want to take care of anything.
So in real life, the marshal actually lived for a few
Mhm.
days. He didn't die right there in the street. And he testified that he thought that it was an accident. He didn't want Curly Bill prosecuted for this as a murder. He thought all along that
that's actually a
was an
maneuver
accident.
in gunplay called the road agent spin. And it's if you watch Doc when he does the pistols with Frank Stallone, he does everything except the flip where he fires the gun upside down. He just spins the pistols back, and it's actually a trick on those are what's known as a single action revolver, where you have to cock the hammer to the position and then pull the trigger. You can't just pull the trigger. But it's a common ploy to make your adversary think you're giving up, but you're still just as deadly as if you had the pistol in your hand correctly, because it's able to be cocked and fired upside down without any trouble. Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I mean,
Well,
he
you have to
definitely
cock
plays
that.
it that it's an
Mhm.
accident. When you watch the movie, he's like, Marshall, like he acts surprised, and it's like, is he just high and really it's an accident, or did he do it on purpose? Like, who knows?
No, it's an accident. It's an accident. It was definitely an accident. Historically and in the movie, it's meant to look like an accident. 100%.
Yeah. All right.
And again, this young Thomas Hayden Church, man, because I'm a huge fan. Sideways, one of my favorite movies, as we know from listening to this podcast. I love him in that, and He's just great. And Daddy's
Even
Home.
the actor that plays
Bad
Ike
Thomas.
is a guy named Stephen Lang, and he's been a character actor for years, and he does a great job too. Because Ike is just such a great guy to hate because he's just such a jerk. And that I'll turn your head into a canoe.
Oh, so
I'm
good.
like, yep, you sure will. And he's like, you're bluffing, and he's like, no, he ain't. He ain't bluffing. He knows by looking into Wyatt's eyes that he's going to kill him in a microsecond if he so much as flinches. So
he's such a worm, and he just keeps coming back as a maggot. It's unbelievable. Like, again, great storytelling, great character building, because by the end you're just like, fucking somebody kill this guy.
Oh boy. So some time passes, and over a game of pool, Wyatt explains that Curly Bill was let off of murder charges because no one saw him shoot the marshal, although Behan and Josephine did. So they discuss building their own place to make some quick money, but Virgil is having an attack of conscience. He decides to take on the badge again, and the first thing he does is declare that there are no more guns allowed inside the town limits. Wyatt is pissed, and he finds out that Morgan has also put on the badge. Back at the Oriental, Doc has been playing cards for a very long time, and Wyatt attempts to get him to rest, but he refuses. He wins yet another hand, and Ike Clanton, who once again decides to be a worm, he's sitting at the table and he gets angry. Ike is told to leave by Virgil, and he gets mouthy on his way out, thinking that the Earps have left with the ailing Holiday, just to have Virgil standing right there listening to all of it. And he cold cocks him with a gun and then throws him in jail to think about it for a while. They let him out, but Ike's not done. He promises retribution and he rides off. So I feel like, Des, earlier, you said that this was like a kettle starting to boil and we're coming to, like, this is like the scene where like they turned the heat up hard on it.
Yeah. So a lot of people think that Doc was a cheater at cards, and that's not the case. So this is the deal. You sit down a schmuck at a Texas Hold'em table going up against one of these guys that plays professionally, you're going to get beat every hand. You just are, because you're a dumb, ignorant cowboy going up against Doc Holliday, a guy that plays cards professionally. And he's just a better poker player, and that's why he wins every single hand. So they're calling him cheater, but he doesn't have to cheat. He's like, I'm going up against you. You're dumb. You can't, and then he says, how about a spelling competition then? Just to underline. And I almost felt like that was the director saying, to me, the viewer, he's not cheating at cards. He's just 1,000 times smarter than this fucking idiot. So again, great character building. And we're going to get Doc getting really sick here at the table. They're going to take him to a hospital bed. Or not a hospital bed, but his bed, and the doctor's going to come in and say, you need to stop drinking, you need to stop smoking. And this is where we're going to find out that, for a cowboy to die with his boots on is, heroic. That's what they want. For a cowboy to die with his boots off in a hospital bed is shameful. They don't want that. And we're going to get an amazing callback later in the movie to this scene. Again, just great storytelling. Everything pays off. I love it. Callbacks everywhere. Thank you.
Yeah, I absolutely concur.
And
it's the idea too that you have the responsible party, if you will, in Virgil saying, you got to let it go and da 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 da. And of course, like you're just throwing bricks in the Grand Canyon with that fool. He's been drinking. He's a loser. He's now reminded of the fact that he's a drunk loser. So he's going to act the fool, and then he wants to get crappy with the bartender. I don't take no sass from no bartender. And Virgil gives him the thump on the noggin and goes, yeah, okay, dumbass, I was right here the whole time. So it just shows you what they think of Ike in the director's chair, and he's just kind of a turd, but it works out for them. And it's the idea too that, like you said, they turn up the heat because there's been a low boil rolling in the background the whole time, and now all of a sudden it's you got a fight coming, and you got a fight coming today. So I'm good. It's like the little kid that gets beat up and says, I'm going to call my big brother and he's going to come kick your ass. So that's what Ike needs to do. He needs to go get his people and go make a ruckus. So, and
Ike reminds me of any like dumb townie. Do you know what I mean? Like in present day, he would be like a dumb drunk townie at the local bar that can't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah,
exactly.
He gets into fights, and his mouth is writing checks that his ass can't cash.
Yeah,
But here's the problem, though. All right, so a lot of the issues that happen in Tombstone happen because the Earps are causing this to happen. I mean, yeah, the cowboys are punks for sure, but they're right at place. they're where they should be. I mean, they don't come in and kick Billy Bob Thornton out and say, well, I'm taking 20% of the bar and we're running this town. They're just cowboys and they're drinking and being rowdy. They're not, it's always the Earps that kill somebody first. The Earps are killing people and the cowboys are responding. Cowboys are definitely antagonists. There's no doubt about it. They're antagonists, but they are on par for what is going on in that time
period. You make a good point. The only difference is that the Earps have a sense of right and wrong, and the cowboys don't like the fact that there's somebody to tell them, hey, you ain't doing that here. Because I think for the longest time with the marshal, they did what they wanted, right? They were the bosses. Now they got a group of guys who are going to say, fuck off, you're going to do the right thing or you're not going to do anything, because this is how Tombstone is now run, and we're here to tell you that that shit won't fly. And once they meet that force, it's a collision, and somebody's either going to lose or somebody's going to win. So they don't like the fact that they've been called out and it's been brought on them.
Yeah, and the thing is, so the cowboys are not killing anyone, but there's that scene that pushes Virgil over the edge where the cowboys are flying down the middle of the main street. People are trying to get out of the way before they get run over, and Virgil grabs the little kid, and he's like, that little kid was literally a second away from getting squashed, and it's like, that's the kind of stuff they do. They're irresponsible. They're shitty people. And they're in there running roughshod over these people, like women and children. And I think there's a scene too where, and it's probably the same scene. The teacher, she has a gigantic scar on her face, right under her eye, and that's the teacher.
He actually pointed that out to me last night. The other night, he said, "He's like, Mick, make sure you see her face."
Who kills Billy Zane's character? It's two cowboys robbing the stage. I mean, these guys don't care. They're gonna take what they want when they want it because they needed money or whatever. He called them cowards and cursed at them. It's not like he tried to jump them and steal their guns.
Yeah. But a few of the cowboys actually see that it's gone too far and they pull to the other side. Yeah.
McMaster.
The Earps are very the Earps are very money motivated in a lot of their law making decisions, and the cowboys call them out on that. They're like, you're kind of playing one side of justice here. I mean, there are times when the Earps are only, I mean, Virgil's really the one with the most integrity. He's the one that's saying, fair for everybody or fair for nobody. But, Wyatt Earp, he's very money motivated with his lawmaking in Tombstone. So
there's some gray morality happening here, honestly. But at the same time, you also have to understand that the cowboys, it's not like the cowboys are good guys.
No, they're not. They're not. But up until this point in the movie, they've only killed in revenge when one of theirs has been killed.
That we've seen.
But I'm just going off what we're being shown.
Yes. So fair enough. Okay. All right. So here we go. We're getting into it. The doctor has told Holiday to stop smoking, drinking, and having late nights, but it's clear he doesn't intend to do that at all. At the same time, 6 cowboys arrive back in town, and Wyatt tells Virgil to swear him in. The cowboys are telling anyone that will listen that they're there to clean out the Earps and are hanging out in a lot behind the OK Corral. Doc arrives, hacking and coughing, but concerned that the Clantons are there gunning for them. Virgil intends to go down and arrest them for carrying guns in the town limits, and Wyatt thinks that once the booze wears off, they'll go home because they've got headaches. Virgil, Doc, and Morgan all intend on going down, and Wyatt finally gives in. So we get this great shot of the 4 of them walking down the street with the burning building behind them, which is like, it's a metaphor that slaps you across the face, but I'll allow it. And the 4 men come across the cowboys. There's a tense standoff, and then the bullets start to fly. Morgan and Virgil are both wounded, and 3 cowboys are dead, including Billy Clanton. Behan comes out from where he was hiding, because of course he was, and tries to arrest them, but Wyatt tells him not today. So, Tony, the gunfight that lived in infamy, it lasted for about 30 seconds, but I appreciate that the movie didn't drag this out. Like, you could have turned this shootout into like the Magnificent Seven, and I'm glad they didn't, because that would have been too much.
Even to the idea of the way that the scene is oriented in the film, it was kind of homage to the OK Corral, because it's in a vacant lot. It wasn't actually at the corral. The corral is behind it, and you see it. It's next to a place a photographer called Flies, which is absolutely the truth. And they did try to have some historical bearing. A lot of the movie is Hollywood licensed to just do whatever. But in this scene, even the array of where people are in relation to one another, because they're at very close range, and it's still the kind of thing where they did a very good job of sticking to what occurred, rather than make it some incredible slow-mo, crazy, wild, whatever. So they do a good job, and they get their point across. He backs it up with some music, and Doc with the wink that starts the whole thing is just classic, because that Virgil says, "That's not what I want," and Doc is like, "Fuck it, we came to get in a gunfight. Let's get in a gunfight, dude. What are we doing here? I got to do something to get this kid riled up." So he gives him that little wink, and the kid's like, "Whoa!" And all of a sudden, we're at stage 5 craziness, so it's all good. Oh,
What's he like?
Well, we get some. Well, I like what you said there, because we're gonna get that spaghetti western up close of each one of their faces, right? Like old school. And Virgil's calm and cool and collected, done it a million times. The kid is kind of sweating and twitching, and like you said, then we get Doc, and he just winks because he knows he could take them all out. He's good to go. White Earp's gun, thing of beauty. When he goes to the drawer to get that 12-inch pistol or whatever, that thing is fucking badass. We did miss one scene that I just wanted. It's not a scene, but when White Earp's coming back from the date with the actress, and he's riding back into town with the sunset behind him. Holy shit! What a beautiful shot. They got a few of those that were just stunning.
They do that a couple times, and it's really nice
just
looking.
incredible, because he does, kind of tap the best of rough Western scenery. You know what I mean? That part of Arizona is wild and crazy, and it's near Mexico and whatever. And he does a great job of kind of finding the beauty in the very barren landscape. So he's really good. Plus, he does a lot of. I didn't realize this. I thought he was a one-trick pony, but he did some horror movies. He did a couple of Stallone films. He did Cobra and First Blood 2, and that's right.
How Frank
he knew him,
ended
and he
up
said,
here.
"Hey, I need
Jesus.
a job. I can't just be a guitar player in the band."
Well, apparently,
A great guitar player. That is
a great guitar player. Apparently, Apparently, Kurt Russell actually directed this movie, and and the other guy was just a ghost, basically a ghost director. Kurt Russell had to take control. The original director dropped the ball and couldn't get the shots. Then they brought this guy on, and Kurt Russell basically just took over. And when this guy passed away, Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer came out and said, "Yeah, Kurt directed you."
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, I know
that's the tale.
One of the writers originally was the director, correct? The Jaffe, Kevin Jaffe, or whatever his name was.
Yes, correct. And it was going to be his first shot, and he just was not up to the task. So this is a perfect example. This is a misdemeanor, having guns in town. These cowboys aren't coming up the middle of the street looking for a gunfight. They're off in a back lot, like Tony said. They're drinking. They're shooting off some steam. And the Earps are going to force this fight. They're going to force it. And they're going to kill some cowboys here. They're going to kill some cowboys that, in my opinion, didn't need to be killed on this day. Wyatt said, this is a misdemeanor. If we all just go home, they're going to go home, sleep it off. And do I believe that is what would have happened? Probably not. There probably would have been retribution. But the bottom line is, they draw first blood right here. They're gonna gun down a bunch of drunk cowboys. They're gonna kill them. And this is what sets off the rest of these events.
I'll give it that. Not only that, but it's the idea that it's not like they execute everybody. It's a gunfight, first of all. And second of all, Ike.
No. Yeah, well, but it's an unfair gunfight.
Ike is
it?
The Cowboys are shit-faced.
Okay.
They took advantage. I mean, these were not the Cowboys ready for a gunfight. These guys were drunk. They've been up all night partying out down there by the corral. And these guys get up bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, brush their teeth, grab their best firearms, go down there and fucking murder these Cowboys. I mean, that's what happened.
Do what you're told. Cowboys ain't used to doing what they told, right? And then they got winked at, and the kid shit his pants and pulled his gun, and he got. So sorry about that, but you lose.
Mikki, do you have anything on this? We're not letting you say anything.
No, it's fine. No, honestly, I love that scene. I think it's a great scene. The wink is just, again, Val Kilmer.
So
I
good.
probably wouldn't have watched this at all if I didn't know how amazing he was in it.
He's so
But
good.
he's awesome. He's awesome. I think
Yeah.
that was a great scene, and I kind of agree with Des a little bit. Like they're not necessarily the good guys, and they kind of were like instigating a little bit.
Oh, speaking of cheating, I did want to just say, because honey, you said earlier that Doc was not cheating at cards. I will say I looked up his just like a background on his life and how things were for him. And one of the things that they mentioned was that he was taught how to count cards at a young age.
Oh,
So he was a
okay.
bit of a card counter, just so you know. He might
Oh,
have been
cool.
cheating a little bit.
Well, even again, smarter. I'll tell you what, I don't think I couldn't count at all. So there you go.
All right. So the Cowboys parade their dead down the streets of Tombstone with a banner that reads "Murdered on the streets of Tombstone" on their way to Boot Hill.
Printed at the local Kinko.
Yes, and I mean, I think they printed the makeup on their face at the local Kinko because holy cow,
so good.
That was interesting. The town is divided on opinion about what happened at the OK Corral. Billy Breckenridge is especially butthurt because those cowboys were his quote-unquote friends, and we know that they really weren't. But Johnny Ringo also has something to say, telling them that they've got trouble. Wyatt refuses him, but Doc is nearby and delivers another iconic line. "I'm your Huckleberry."
So good.
They gave him so many good one-liners in this movie. It just... When Ringo decides to go for it, Curly and some of the other cowboys grab him and pull him away, saying he's just drunk, and then tell Ringo to save it for the right time. On a stormy night, the cowboys make their move. Somebody shoots up Virgil's house, scaring the wives and Josephine, who had gone to warn them. Virgil returns to the saloon injured. After getting home, Wyatt runs into McMaster, played by Michael Rooker, when he still had hair. So, who, along with others, denounce the cowboys. I think it was like Texas Jim or something, I forget. But they see what they did to the women as cowardly. Then Morgan is shot in the back through a window at the Oriental. They attempt to save him, but he dies from his injuries. There's an overly dramatic shot of Wyatt standing in the rain, calling out for Morgan. The entire town is staring at him, and his hands are dipped in blood. Josephine runs out to him, and he tells her to get away. Maddie also sees this and also walks away. So, Mickey, there's a lot to unpack here, but what I'm seeing is that the Cowboys knew that they couldn't face these guys in a one-on-one battle, so they decided to get sneaky and play dirty.
Absolutely. Honestly, I don't think any of them have the balls to go one-on-one, and you know what I mean? Like they totally fought dirty. That was totally uncalled for. And just I don't know. I love Michael Rooker's character in this too. I wish it was a little bit of a bigger part. Because I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's just really good at whatever he does. But no, I agree with you. That was totally sneaky, totally backhanded, totally shady.
Yeah, I
So
feel
there
like
are
this time of women and children were kind of off limits. Like, if they got hurt in the crossfire, that might be one thing. But to actually go there and shoot up that house on purpose to scare them or kill them was considered really shitty.
Although I was a little bummed that the actress didn't get caught. She was annoying.
Oh, jeez.
That's my girl.
So there are
dear.
3 cowboys. There are 3 cowboys that are not afraid to go one-on-one. You got Doc Holliday, you got Ringo, and you got Wyatt Earp. And Wyatt Earp, even knowing that he can't win, is still willing to go one-on-one. So these guys are stand-up dudes. So here's the big problem now with the movie. So they have killed these cowboys. Cowboys have made it very clear that there's going to be retribution. And the brothers decide this is where they're going to split up. Young brother's going to go play pool, keep his back to the window. Virgil's going to walk home alone. Hey, see you later, guys. I'm just going to, come on, just go on home. It's like, you guys need to stay together now with your families, heavily armed, and wait and see what's going to happen. But they split up and they pay the price for it. This scene with Bill Paxton, man, I mean, he couldn't draw a tear out of me. And you guys, I love to cry at a movie. And Bill just, hi, Wyatt, they say it ain't true what they say about seeing a light. I don't see shit. It's like,
yeah, he fell a little flat.
God. He fucking sucks, man. He's just such a goon. He's such a goofball. He's such a goofball. He's got very limited acting chops, and this movie needed listen. I like Bill Paxton if I'm watching Twister. I like Bill Paxton if I'm watching Weird Science. I do
Or
not
Alien.
like Bill Paxton or Alien. I don't want to see him go toe to toe. You're gonna give me Val Kilmer giving me a death scene where I'm literally sobbing on my shirt, and then Bill Paxton trying to deliver a scene that has zero weight to it. I was crying because of the dog. Honestly, I felt bad because I could hear this dog wailing that its owner was dying in front of it. And, Wyatt's going to get that damn dog out of here. And I thought that was the saddest part of the scene.
Tony and
No,
Wyatt
I
go
think
way
it's
back.
to the idea that, although you see Wyatt as kind of this he's a little bit left and he's a little bit right, and he's, trying to make a balance where he strikes fortune and fame, or he's a law guy, but it's the kind of thing where he has a much more defined sense of right and wrong. And I think he does a better job of acting in that scene than Bill Paxton does. I think you're absolutely right, Des. And it's the kind of thing where, you can see it in his face.
Yeah.
He's torn up, and, it's not the same. I can't think of the name of the character that does it in Wyatt Earp, but they do a much better job in that film of pulling off the whole, because this is a movie really about brotherhood. I mean, Doc Holliday is Wyatt's brother. He's not biologically his brother, but they are very tight. I mean, one of the classic lines that Doc delivers is, he says, something to the effect of, I don't know why you're out here, Doc. God, Jesus, he goes, well, Wyatt Earp is my friend. And he goes, hell, I got a lot of friends. And Doc says, I don't.
Yeah.
Very plainly, I don't.
Yeah. And
so.
Yeah.
And selfishly, Doc is running towards the fire. He does not. He knows his time is coming, and he does not want to die. He wants to die hero in battle. So he is offended at a moment when Wyatt says, "What are you doing?"
That is a hell of a thing to say to
asking me that? That's what I do.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm a gunfighter. I'm here to fucking die in battle, but nobody's quick enough to kill him except the tuberculosis.
Or slow enough in the tuberculosis case.
Right. All right, go ahead.
All right. So, let's see here. Wyatt and what's left of his family pack up to leave Tombstone. They're taking Morgan with them in a coffin. On the way out of town, he tells Curly Bill that it's done. And once they're out of earshot, Curly orders Ike Clanton to take some guys with him and follow them. The Earps get on a train, and the cowboys attempt to take them out, but Wyatt has stayed behind and gets the jump on them as Virgil and the wives actually get away. Doc and the three men that left the cowboys are backing him up. He kills one of them and tells Ike that now he's a U.S. Marshal, and if he sees a red sash, he's going to shoot first. He tells him to run back and tell all the cowboys that he's coming. So Des, as we were already talking about, we love a good callback. And here's the best one in the movie to me. He says, hell's coming with me. And this is the callback to what the priest said at the very beginning of the movie, that, he's coming, death is coming on a pale horse and hell is coming with him. And here I loved it.
I loved it too. And I loved that, Wyatt, he knew that this wasn't over. He's ready for him. And we're going to get another one of these amazing shots where Wyatt's standing there with his guys. You've got the train off his right shoulder with the light. You've got the knight behind him. He's got the gun. And it's Hollywood magic. It really is. We're going to get these montages now of them, basically running down cowboys. These sped up scenes of them riding these horses. It's phenomenal. It's really, really good. Yeah.
I absolutely concur. He never looks at Curly Bill when he tells him this. He's looking straight down, and you can kind of see it, he says one thing, but his body motions tell you that he's thinking something completely different, because this guy's he's not gonna run in a corner and hide. He just wants to get his people out of there safely, and he'll make you believe that it's over just so they can do that and get everybody back to where they need to go. And then he's going to go strap up and take care of business. He's going to give you that false sense of security with the cowboys and say, yeah, it's over, whatever. But yeah, I concur.
Yeah, I think it's a well-placed ruse, because he figures if Curly Bill believes me and they don't follow, great. well, I'll get everyone on the train and get them out of here. Now, whether he would have then continued to go, hunt them down, I'm not sure, but it seems like he's pretty mad about what happened to Morgan.
No.
So
This was going down. This was going down. So I'm not sure if you're gonna read this scene or not yet, but I'm just gonna get into it now because it's my favorite scene in the movie. So Doc, we get this montage, and Doc is with Wyatt, hunting down these cowboys and killing them. And Doc finally basically almost expires on a horse, so they get him back to bed. And Wyatt is sitting in the room with Doc, and he asks him, "Can I beat Johnny Ringo in this showdown?" And Doc says to him, "No, you can't." And I get the chills when he says this. It's just such an honest moment. So, and this is just going to be my interpretation. So Wyatt puts the badge in Doc's hand and doesn't say another word. And I felt like this was him saying to Doc, if you can, save me. You're a marshal now. If you have the strength, be there. Because you're the only man fast enough to take out Johnny Ringo, and I don't want to die. I'm going to go, and I'm going to face him, but you've just told me I'm going to die if I do. I cannot beat him. So he puts the badge in Doc Holliday's hand, and he goes off to this gunfight, and lo and behold, we get what we get, And I literally was I was blown away by this scene, giving me the opportunity to make up my own ideas. And I love that in movie making. I love that. So I don't know if you guys saw it that way, but that's how I saw it.
Well, Tony? I will tell you how I felt about it when we get to it. Oh, very funny. Very funny.
I'm so clever.
Oh boy. We get a montage here of Wyatt and his crew take it. It's like
today, Junior.
Oh boy. We get a montage here of Wyatt and his crew taking out everyone wearing a red sash. They've obviously taken a page out of the cowboy's book. Instead of gunfighting in the streets, they're shooting him in bed at the brothels and in the barber's chair. They end up in a shootout down by the river with Curly Bill and a lot of his men. It appears Wyatt and his crew are done for. Curly's got them surrounded. Wyatt snaps and steps out of cover and directly into the river. And he's just going, no, it blows my mind. Curly calls for ceasefire because he wants to take on Wyatt head-to-head, which was a bad idea. His few shots miss, and then his gun is either empty or misfires, and Wyatt gives him both barrels to the chest. He gets a few more cowboys before what's left of them run off. So, Tony, later Doc says Wyatt is down by the creek walking on water. This is, it's obviously way too good to be true. Yeah.
The movie laughs at itself here.
The scene is obviously way too good to be true, but it was fantastic cinema.
Right.
I
loved it. I agree completely. And it's the idea, too, that you got to love Doc because he's smart and snarky and funny and, he's got it all. And he's just down there walking on water, kind of like it's no big deal for Wyatt to be Jesus. But, it's the kind of thing where you see the resolve, I guess, would be the statement I want to make to who Wyatt is. He knows he's in a pickle and he's not going to back down because he's a driven, wholly dedicated kind of person. And he's just going to make up his mind that nothing bad's going to happen today. I'm going down there and shoot Curly Bill and do my business.
Yeah.
But, right. And it's also the kind of thing that, I think that's kind of the summarization of Wyatt Earp. He tells you at one point, and he says, in all those cow towns and all those encounters, I only really shot and killed one man. And it's like, you wonder because in the Old West, news was not something you got minute to minute like you do now. Somebody had to write the paper and then print it and then get it to the East Coast. So this stuff took months to filter out. But you think Wyatt Earp is this wild madman law enforcement guy who's, dominating folks. And it was a lot more image than I think reality. But in this case, it's a lot more reality than image. He just dedicates himself to go doing it. And he catches Curly Bill at a bad moment where he says something dumb like, I'm going to go handle this myself. If I'm behind the tree, I'm going to stay there and shoot, Wyatt and call it a day and go back and drink a beer. But, we got to make it a little Hollywood and it's all good. That probably never happened in the real world, but it does make the film. It's a great encounter, and it's the kind of thing where you see Bill and he's such a conniving shit where he goes, you got some boys there behind you. Got you in a little crossfire. Just like joking about it, like, hey, it ain't no big deal. But I think that Wyatt, he's that guy too. He's looking out for his people. He knows that these guys have thrown in with him. on this mission, and he's not going to let them die in vain and get pinned down and get killed. So he's got to do something, and boy, does he.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I'm glad they
Mhm.
went Hollywood in spots. I'm glad we got some over the top, performances, over the top characters, and some of these Hollywood moments. Because if not,
Sure.
movie wouldn't have been
I
what it was.
love that.
Absolutely.
I love when he's walking and he's going, no, like that was so Hollywood, but it was
No.
awesome. Like it was so badass because you're like, he's fucking done.
Honey,
He's
were you
going
thinking-
for it.
He
He's done.
snaps.
Were you
Yeah.
thinking of
And he
me
can't be hit.
when I tell you no and I mean it? I said
Tony's
no,
like, no,
and I meant that no.
and I mean it.
Damn it.
And I mean,
Yeah, I love the
Oh,
little homage
God,
too, where
it's
they
too
throw
funny.
Charlton Heston in there for a little cameo as Henry Hooker. I mean, if you've
So
ever seen
good.
movie
Yes.
westerns in the
Yeah.
'60s, you obviously know who he is. He's like a god in that stuff. So it was a nice
Yeah.
little shot. Yeah,
so
Yeah.
good.
and
Yeah.
And he still
oh,
had
yeah.
plenty of tread
Yeah,
on the tire.
He's only
too.
got
He
about
still
12
felt
lines,
like a
but hey,
cowboy.
that's all right. It does its job, and it's quick and easy.
Yeah, they
Sure.
didn't want to overtax him.
Yeah.
All right. So the cowboys, accompanied by Behan and Billy, stop a stagecoach on the way out of town. Inside is Josephine and the now deceased Mr. Fabian, played by Billy Zane. Two of the cowboys tried to steal her watch, and Fabian called them cowards, so they shot and killed him. Billy is upset and he rides off. Meanwhile, Wyatt knows Ringo and the cowboys are coming for vengeance, but Doc is taken ill again. They stop at a ranch where Josephine's carriage also stops to water their horses. Wyatt apologized to her for yelling at her before she gets on the carriage and leaves. Later, a cowboy drags a body close to the ranch. It's McMaster's. He tells Wyatt that Ringo wants a one-on-one duel with him. Wyatt and Doc have a conversation about what Wyatt wants out of his life and about the fact that he can't beat Ringo. Wyatt leaves the ranch to head to the duel. So, as Des was saying, Mikki, this conversation between Doc and Wyatt is gold. It's a ton of exposition, but the conversation is so engaging, you don't even think about that. You're just sucked into this conversation. And this is a movie about shooting and the Wild West, and still conversations are handled like really well.
It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, because I love that they have, basically they're these two men that are just so badass and hard ass and tough, but yet they respect each other enough, and they're willing to kind of show their like softer side, not to like sound cliche, but like I feel like that's really rare, like in that era where men don't do that, especially when you have guys like that. They're just so badass. And then so to have them have that kind of really vulnerable kind of like, I love you, man moment. You know what I mean? Like that,
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about their characters. And I love that scene. And again, like Val Kilmer, this was just like chef's kiss. Like I love him in this so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This movie
yeah.
is based on the friendship
Mhm.
between Doc and Wyatt. I mean, that
Right.
is the root of this movie. It's the one continuing storyline that goes throughout the entire movie from beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the
Yeah,
enlarged
absolutely.
kind of family brotherhood thing between the brothers of the Earp family, and how Doc is kind of just inserted in there, and that's where he fits.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah,
Doc
it
like
was-
isn't necessarily maybe the most up and law-abiding person in terms of some of the things that he does.
Well phrased.
He's a
A
rascal.
rascal.
He's a scoundrel. But I don't know. I love it. I love the vulnerability that they show, and I love the interaction between the two of them. And I honestly wish it had gone on a little longer. I wish there was
Which is
more of
interesting
that.
for a conversation, right? Like it's conversation in a Wild West movie, but it's just so well done. And
Yeah.
and freaking Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer are acting
Right.
the pants off these characters. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I wish
I
it
know.
had
I
been.
felt
I
like-
wish they had more of that.
Yeah.
See, I felt like it was a good portion of the movie was based around Doc and Wyatt enough. And it left me wanting more. I feel like if we had seen Doc more than we did, the charm of that performance might have started to lose its luster, because it's
Maybe.
like with anything, too much of a great spice
Mhm.
becomes too much of a great spice. There's never enough Frank Stallone. Okay.
Oh my God. You know I'm getting you a Frank Stallone poster for your birthday.
Fuck yeah. Frank Stallone shirt.
So Wyatt goes to the spot to duel Ringo, but somehow Doc has summoned the energy to get out of bed, and he gets to Ringo before Wyatt can. They circle around one another before they draw, and Doc gets the jump on him, shooting Ringo in the head. But as Des pointed out to me, he doesn't shoot him straight in the head, because that would have just been the end of it. He shoots him on the side of the head so that he can shit talk him a little bit before he dies. It's like, oh, dang. Wyatt arrives with his gun drawn to see that Doc has already taken care of Ringo. Doc agrees to finish it with Wyatt. We're treated to another montage of Wyatt and the fellows kicking some cowboy ass, culminating in a scene with them chasing down Ike Clanton. And I think Behan was with him, but I'm not 100% sure. So Ike Clanton, he's been on the business end of their guns and lived to tell the tale more times than anybody else in this movie, and he gets away again, and it pissed me off. I wish they had taken the Hollywood liberty and just fucking shot him in the head at this point. Ike takes off his red sash and lets it fall to the ground. Doc and Wyatt consider it a job well done and call it off. Later, Doc is in a hospital and he passes away after a visit with Wyatt. He admonishes his friend to go find Josephine and to live his life. Wyatt finds the actress in Denver and they end up building a new life together. So Des, I know you hated the Disney ending where he meets up with her again, and I agree it could have been cut. You didn't need it, but it's also a culmination of what Wyatt wanted and what Doc wanted for him, so I kind of understand why they put it in there.
No, it's a huge mistake, but let's go to that quick. So the showdown, Ringo is waiting for Wyatt Earp, who he knows he's going to beat. He knows he's going to beat him. And this just comes back again to what I was saying. Ringo was the fastest gun in the West that never fought anybody. So he's again ready to, outdraw a guy that really isn't a gunfighter. I mean, we've now, I think, figured out that Wyatt Earp is not a guy that's getting into several gunfights in the middle of the street. He said it himself. I've killed one man, you know? So he sees Doc Holliday step out of the shadows and immediately he shits his pants. This is a showdown that's been coming the entire movie, and Ringo is trying his damnedest to get out of this gunfight. My fight's not with you. I have no problem with you. Me and you are homies. We should be friends. Let's ride together.
Please.
Doc Holliday's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Play for
Holliday's
blood,
like,
remember?
He's like, no.
And
You said play for blood and that's it,
Yep.
man. You signed that contract. Yeah, I'm here to cash in that contract. And he takes him out so easily. And I love this. This is like when any good shit talker, like before a UFC fight, gets knocked out with one punch in the first round after talking smack. And like Dylan said, Doc Holliday's such a great shot. He clips him on purpose, just enough to take him out. So he's going to die, but he's going to have to hear him say, you ain't shit. You ain't fast. You never had a chance. Say goodbye. And I was clapping. I loved it.
Choice.
I was. And then this last scene we get in the, it's not the last scene, but this scene we get in the hospital bed, it's unbelievable. Okay. He tells him, if it was me, I wouldn't be sitting here with you. I'd be out living my life. And he's basically exonerating him from having to watch him die. Get the fuck out of here. Go find your girl. Go live your life. And, Kurt Russell reluctantly says, you've been a great partner.
Right. Yeah.
And, but I got to go. And, he doesn't want to, but he's doing it out of respect for his friend. And Kilmer's going to look down. He's going to see his bare feet and have this kind of look of disbelief, like, as hard as I tried to die out there being a rascal, this is how it's going to end. And it's very sad. And he squeezes this tear out of his eye, and I'm fucking crying into a fucking paper towel. And all I wanted from this point now, I just wanted to see Wyatt Earp in a carriage heading west towards San Francisco, fade to black. There's the end of your movie. Instead, we're going to get this horse shit Walt Disney garbage 6 minutes of film where he comes in, he's like, hi, here I am. She's like, oh, why? He's like, take me for the man I am. I have no money left. I have nothing. She's like, well, that's okay because my family's rich. And now we're rich and we can live our lives out forever. it's fucking trash. And
Thank
then they
you.
actually play this fucking trash Walt Disney music
The fake
while they
snow.
dance in
Yeah.
the snow.
The fake snow.
Fuck this. Yeah, they're rinsing. So they're gonna rinse the taste of this unbelievable scene I just watched, where I'm crying into a napkin. I'm mourning the death of Doc Holliday. I'm mourning the death of this friendship, and they're gonna fucking wipe all that away and leave me going, "Fuck you, movie, fuck you." So that's my
I
ending
think
shot.
I even said last night, this is so cheesy. Like, this is like total cheese right here. This is not how I hated the way it ended.
So, Mikki, I was comparing this to the end of Good Will Hunting. I didn't need to see Will find her. He's heading out towards where she is. Does he find her? I don't know. Doesn't he find her? Leave it to my imagination.
Right.
It left my heart feeling heavy. It left me having that melancholy feeling, and it made the end of that movie have some weight. Where the end of this movie had no weight. It could have had weight. You need to end it. You need
Was
to
it
end it after the death of
kind
Doc
of
Holliday.
like Tony Manero strutting through Broadway?
You stop. You stop right there. I cried. There were tears of joy. Listen, I cried. This is a true statement. I had tears of joy running down my face as they played Staying Alive, and he strutted. You know what I want to do? I want to strut. And then you hear Saturday Night Fever kick in, Staying Alive, and I just went, "Oh God, that's fucking cool." Tears of coolness.
No.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Tony,
First of all,
take it away.
there's nothing cool about that last scene, but I do concur on the Tombstone scene. It was almost like, as you said, Kurt Russell had to direct it and say, "Okay, how do we end this in 4 minutes flat? Let's just make up some happy bullshit and go with it." Because I loved your analogy of they wash that taste out of your mouth. The scene with Kilmer is beautiful because it's truly what a friend would do. You know, you come here and you play cards with me, and I don't want to play cards anymore. I wanted you to live, and I'm dead, and let's call it a day, and you go do your thing. And Kurt Russell's smart enough to know, hey, this is my friend. He's got a point. I don't want to leave him because he's my buddy, and I want to show him how much he meant to me. But I got to go do my thing too. And I think it's a great scene. And even where he says, would you look at that? I got nothing on my feet. You know what I mean? And my feet are sticking out of the covers. And, it's the kind of thing where they cut to the bullshit, and it's that fake snow and they're dancing.
I actually had to ask Tony about that because I'm like, I don't understand why that's funny. Like, why is that funny to him? Because I wasn't thinking about it, but I had to ask him, like, why does he find that funny?
Right.
Because he didn't die with his boots on.
And it almost kind of like a metaphoric kind of way, you know what I'm saying? It was to the idea too that, he's in a bed and he's comfortable, and then he just boop, he's gone.
Well, that kind of makes me mad though. Like, why didn't you let him die with his boots on?
Well,
you know what I mean? He was so badass. Why didn't they let him do that?
It's a metaphor. It has nothing to do with having his boots on. It had the fact that he didn't die in battle. Like, basically like Iron Maiden said, if you're going to die with your boots on,
All right.
He died in a hospital bed sick.
And sadly, they actually kept that to the historic truth because he did die in a sanitarium in Colorado. It's historically correct.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Oh, he did?
Now, if the movie wasn't to go historically correct, I think a fun ending might have been for him to hit Johnny Ringo, not with a kill shot, but something close to it, and then said to Ringo, I was the faster gun, but it's your time, and then let Ringo take him out. That might have been a nice ending, Could have died with his boots on in battle after letting Ringo know, I'm sparing you, and now you're going to put me out of my misery. Right? Let's write it.
Kind of like Lieutenant Dan in Forrest Gump. Why didn't you let me die on the field?
Yeah.
I think Doc Holliday was too proud and was never going to let anybody take him out, and that's why he was going to end up dying with his boots off, unfortunately.
Almost to the point where Doc says, hey, if you're as good or better than me, prove it, because I'm not going out without a fight, and if you're faster, then you'll win. And if you're not, well, you come in second. Sorry. Sure did.
And he came in second, big time. Yeah. Yeah, the wagon. I think the wagon heading west with the sunset behind them would have been a beautiful.
I
ending.
agree.
Yeah.
So shall we hit the recasting couch?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, honey, you already told everyone yours.
Yeah, I'm going with a next of kin era Patrick Swayze to replace the pathetically poor Bill Paxton.
Poor rest in peace, Bill Paxton.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. All right. Well, I'm also going to replace Bill Paxton. And I'm going to replace him with the.
Frank
He's
Stallone?
already dead in this movie.
No.
Okay.
Oh my God. I'm going to replace him with Legends of the Fall era Brad Pitt.
Ooh.
You know what? I considered Brad Pitt also. Just
And because he did Legends of the Fall at this time, so that is the era. If he had been in this movie, now whether they would have him cut his hair or not, because he had that long blonde hair at the time, but honestly, I just think he would have been
That's a good one.
fantastic choice. Thank you.
absolutely.
That's a good one.
Great.
All right,
Very
Mikki,
good.
give us yours.
So I would, of course, there's two that I would recast. Wyatt's wife. I would cast Jennifer Lawrence as his wife.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I'll take
and
that.
then for Josephine, that was her name, right?
Josephine Marcus.
The
yes.
annoying one. I would cast Rachel McAdams.
Yes,
I think
like
she would
that.
be amazing in that role.
Agreed. I like her.
I agree.
Thank you.
Sure. Tony,
All right,
In a
reimagine
humorous
this movie
sense,
for
I
us.
would recast Wyatt's wife as I forgot her name. She's the redheaded girl who is at the wedding with Wedding Crashers, and thank you, Isla Fisher. Because that would make her like a complete loony bin chick. And instead of being a doped out banana and Wyatt talking to her, she'd be like bing bong, just bouncing off the wall, going bananas. And Wyatt would be like, oh shit, we got a stage 5 clinger. I gotta get out of here.
Stage 5 clinger. All right, let's do some final thoughts and some rewatch scores. Mikki, final thoughts on Tombstone, and what's your rewatch score?
Final thoughts are, again, I love Val Kilmer in this. Again, I'm not a big Western fan. I guess as Westerns go, it was good. Val Kilmer stole the show for me. And so my rewatch score is probably 2.25.
What? Step into my office. You're fired. Tony. Oh, Tony.
Guys, I gotta be
can't let
honest.
this
I was
happen.
impressed
What's your
she got that.
final thoughts?
So, I 2.25.
What was it?
2.25.
Wow. Okay, Tony.
Just
Final
under
thoughts and
average.
rewatch score. It's not under average.
Obviously, I picked the film. It's one of my favorites. As Westerns go, it's probably in my top 5. I'm also the kind of guy, if there is a rainy day and there's a Western movie marathon on like whatever network, I am a happy camper. If there's some cold beer and there's a cold beer and some sandwiches in the fridge.
Yeah.
The Lord has smiled upon me. So basically, I'm a huge fan of the genre as well as the incredible cast. And while this movie has a few minor flaws, basically the ending and a few small spots in between, it's one of my favorites, just because everybody does such a good job of representing who they are in the film. It's a 4.55, just because I'd love to give it 4 3/4, but the ending kind of puts a crummy taste in your mouth. So I'm gonna go in with 4.5.
Okay. Delynn, what do you got?
So I'm going to just take off a little bit of pointage for that ending. And I mean, yeah, a lot of the women were annoying in this. And it was unfortunate because you could have had some really great moments. Especially like Doc's girlfriend was a badass.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
like,
I agreed.
It wasn't that they were allergic to having good women in it. It's just the women that were in it, just I had a hard time stomaching it. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. So just taking a little bit off for that.
There were only 2 things that ding this movie for me. The end, ding the movie, and Bill Paxton a little bit. I mean, he was cute. It was the best I've ever seen Bill Paxton ever.
Cute.
Yeah, he rose to the occasion, but I just wish it had been somebody else. I'm like Tony. I can watch Gunsmoke I come home from work, watch 5, 6, 7 episodes of Gunsmoke. I'm fine with it. So it was almost a perfect movie for me. I mean, we're getting one-liners that are just,
Right.
they're iconic. We're getting any one of these guys, Johnny Ringo in any other fucking Western is going to look like Doc Holliday. Val Kilmer's performance. We got some performances that were only overshadowed by even better performances. So for me, it's almost a perfect movie. I'm going to go 4.95.
Yeah.
This gets just a fifth of a point ding for being a perfect movie. I mean, skid that smoke wagon, boy. I mean, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Okay. So, Dylan, will you calculate those scores and tell us what our final score is and where it falls on the hey, did you ever see that movie list?
Okay, well, it does fall kind of on the low end because of Mickey's 2.25. It is at number 17, which is right above The Crow, and is underneath Black Christmas, The Heat, and Bridesmaids.
This is under Black Christmas?
Yeah. It's a 4.0628.
This is under Black Christmas, okay? This is under Black Christmas. I could have wrote that movie on a fucking napkin and the four of us could have acted it better. But Tombstone with Val Kilmer's performance is under Black Christmas. Okay, this is broken.
I mean,
okay?
I believe it belongs at like number 3, but
yes, it does.
We can't change the panel. Number 3 is Creepshow.
Oh,
this is better than Creepshow. I would watch this 100 times before I'd watch Creepshow.
Yes, obviously from your score we figured that out, dear. Thank you. Jesus.
Hey, that's why we have a panel, and as Dylan said last week, that's why this isn't my show. Daz, if you can't shame people with your scores, and fuck you, fuck you, dude. You guys should have heard the unedited version where I'm like, you fucking bitch, and she's like, fuck you. It was completely unhinged. So I shortened it down.
I need to watch Daddy's Home now.
You do need to watch Daddy's Home. It's fucking
I've never seen
hilarious. All right, so I have a question. If you had to watch Tombstone or Staying Alive, which one are you watching?
Oh, Tombstone.
Oh, fuck,
at least I had Val Kilmer.
Staying Alive. Oh God. Okay. I really
go back and watch it. I'm never fucking watching that again.
For one
Dude,
second,
the crickets.
I literally have to ask you this question. For 1 second, did you really think she was going to say she'd watch Staying Alive before Tombstone?
Yeah, a very optimistic viewpoint.
Like, really? Like,
Higher.
You know,
okay.
Des, I got to be honest with you, though. I watched it with her, and then your podcast about it and your statements and review and whatnot. I got more excited about the movie listening to you than I did watching a film. So I'll give you credit. You got a lot of heart. You got a lot of heart. Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to be back next week with Pat again, and we are going to be reviewing Daddy's Home 2 because I think it needs to be reviewed. Yeah, we're going to get a beast of a Mel Gibson in this movie. So fuck yeah, I'm super excited. Tony,
Mel Gibson,
you were great tonight. Yes,
yeah,
Mel
he's
Gibson
in Daddy's Home too.
Oh my gosh,
major role, and he's awesome. Tony, you were great. You are welcome to come back on the show anytime you like. It was a pleasure having you on.
Pleasure was
mine.
mine.
You to do Excalibur.
Apparently, I only picked these 2.5 hour long movies, but I figure we'll chew into something.
I actually saw Excalibur in the theater when I was a small child, and I remember playing Space Invaders in the lobby of the theater before going in to actually watch it. So I have that memory in my mind. I was really into like Dungeons and Dragons and swords and all that shit back then. So I was super excited to watch that movie. Did I like it? You'll all have to tune in to find out. We'll set it up.
All right.
We'll set it up. Dylan, I always love watching movies from opposite ends of the house with you. Did we watch this one together? We didn't.
No, because I had to write the whole thing out.
That's why I enjoyed it so much.
Okay. Very funny. Go eat your peanut butter ice cream.
That ice. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put that ice cream in the sink and pour water on it just to spite you.
It's ice cream abuse. That is ice cream abuse.
Okay. Okay. All right, everybody. So, we are doing Rat Out of the Cellar this week on
Nice.
Breaking Vinyl, and we've got a stand-in. It's one of Ed's friends from Las Vegas. His name is Freakenstein. This is this guy's name. His first name is Freak. His last name is Kinstein, so they call him Freakenstein. I can't wait to meet this guy and get him on the show.
I'm looking forward to that one already.
We're doing Rat Out of the Cellar. All right, guys. So until next time, I just have one question for you. Did you ever see the fucking movie or what? All right. See you later.